Going to reopen the City of Miami Commission meeting for October 15th, 2024. Welcome back, everybody. We left off with our planning and zoning items. Mr. City Attorney, would you read into the record the title?
PZ3, right?
Yes, that's the only one that requires you to read the title.
PZ3, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission, amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, Miami 21 Code, specifically by amending Article 4, Table 3 of the Miami 21 Code, titled Standards and Tables, Building Function Uses, to permit recreational facility uses and community facility uses in CS, Civic Space Transect Zones by right, and to amend Article 10, specifically Section 10.1.4, titled General Requirements, and Table 15, titled Specific Sign Design Standards C, to allow for certain illuminated signs in CS Civic Space Transect Zone by right, making findings, containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'm going to entertain, are there any items that we'd like to pull to discuss? And I know we have to take this one by one. We can't group
Sure.
these items.
If I may,
Commissioner Reyes?
we talked about specifying the size. Remember, Mr. City Attorney, we specified the size, and there were a couple of exceptions.
Right.
But I didn't hear you say anything about that.
So we're talking about PZ3, and during our briefing, you expressed concern about the portion relating to signs. And so
That's right.
the planning department provided some alternative language.
Yes.
Now, I just want to give the commission the choice, and you, Commissioner, the choice. The signs that are referenced in the ordinance they're already in Miami 21 Code. The warrant requirement was just to allow the signs to be illuminated, to have a light on the sign.
But what I said was
But
from the ground up.
from the ground up, right?
The size specifically from the ground up. You see, and I don't know if I asked you, and you said that you were going to include it. If
Right.
The other commissioners or the.
So what we did was the planning staff distributed a version that removes all of the sign language if you want, okay. And then that way the administration can come back and robustly look at all the signs for parks and stuff like that. So okay. The choice is to include it, knowing that it's just a warrant to eliminate the sign, or to take it out if it causes too much confusion. It's totally up to you.
And how about the exception of museums and libraries?
Yeah, so I'll let the planning director.
Through the chair, so David Snow with the planning department. So we have updated that language. So there's now supplemental requirements for if you're doing a museum,
that's right.
Or a library, that will still be a warrant process.
Absolutely, they have to come through a warrant, not by right. That's what I'm stating. Okay, fine.
So, hold on. You have a question? Because I wanted to go in order, PZ1, PZ2, PZ3. Which, Commissioner Gabella, which one? You had a question on PZ3?
No, I got a question on PZ3.
While we were speaking about it, go ahead, because we already started on PZ3.
May I proceed?
Please.
Okay, so to be clear, is this only about the sign, or I wasn't, I didn't attend the briefing, as you guys know, but so this doesn't have to do with gym equipment, does it?
So this has to do with
Also
recreational equipment. So
okay.
This makes.
So how did that wind up here? The sign stuff.
So when we were looking at a way to change the code, the idea was there were different things, because the issue was presented to the administration is, why does the city need to request warrants for things that slows up the creation of parks and stuff like that? So the administration looked at the CS chart. Is it Article 3, Table 4? Article 3, Table 4, and looked at what those items are that require a warrant versus by right. Those items were recreational facilities as well as community facilities. And then in other conversations with your colleagues, there was a notion that it's too difficult to light a sign in a city park as well, so could we remove that warrant requirement? So those were the three things that we're focused on, and that's how that ordinance, it was intended to be more comprehensive as an ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm done with my questions.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Pardo?
In our briefing, we didn't talk about recreational facilities and community facilities, so I'm not sure how that factors in with the master plan, and if it's something that would not have allowed the residents to move forward with the gym equipment, I wouldn't be supporting it, but I don't know enough. So if we can defer this item and I could have a little more time to vet it, I would be appreciative.
I'm sorry, Todd was speaking. What did you just say?
I was asking if we could possibly defer this, just because I really haven't had time to kind of vet it or look at the master plan.
PZ3?
PZ3.
We all had the opportunity to be briefed at it by the administration. That's where the question should have come in. But from what I'm seeing, we're ready to move on this.
Madam Chair, I would just clarify, since you didn't hear the whole thing. In our briefing, we didn't talk about recreational facilities and community facilities. And if this is something that would impact something like the gym warrant that had come up, where residents didn't have any other way to express, that opinion, then I would want to take a closer look. And just didn't, in our briefing, it didn't come up.
Okay, so can we take PZ1 and then we work our way down?
I would recommend that you do PZ3 first, because PZ3 could determine whether and when PZ1 and 2 are heard.
I'll put the motion for PC3.
Hold on. Just lost it. Okay, there's a request to defer PZ3.
There's a motion.
Okay, a motion
PC3.
to defer PZ3.
No.
No, what's the
Move
motion?
forward. The motion is to approve the ordinance on first reading on PC3.
Do I have a second?
So let me, from my standpoint, let me be clear. Okay, I was not in the briefing. I did not. It's the only briefing that I have not attended since I was put into office on December 2nd, because I could not attend, and we were having one of those Zoom things which I personally don't like anyway. But I couldn't attend. And
Plus,
then,
it was on the eve of a hurricane, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've made my comments where on the gym equipment fiasco here that you gentlemen, let's come on and say it, have a problem with both. I have already said that in the beginning I was on your side, that, it should be, and then it was put to a referendum. I think the people spoke. I think we got to honor what the people said, so but however, if Commissioner Pardo says he's got to look at it again, I will give you the benefit of the doubt, at least on that side, but I will be voting yes to finish with the gym equipment and have it installed, because it was put to a referendum and the people spoke. That's my 2 cents. So that's where I'm at, but I'm willing to, to defer it, to give you.
This wouldn't defer it, this vote.
Okay, so I will take my motion out, and then I will make a motion on PC1.
Motion for PZ1.
Is there any discussion on
Oh,
PZ?
absolutely.
Oh.
I don't think that we can get away with not having
Yeah.
discussion on this item. I see attorneys lining up. Come on up.
Good afternoon. Amanda Corcan, office at 1395 Brickell Avenue, outside counsel for the City of Miami on this matter. This matter has been discussed at many different meetings. It's our position that the reconsideration is appropriate, and it's also in accordance with the referendum that was approved by 80% majority. So we would encourage this commission to vote and grant the appeal.
Sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. This body may not proceed with reconsideration of the final decision of May 23rd to deny the appeal from the PZAB. It would be an abrogation of jurisdiction to do so. So whatever may be a good idea or not a good idea, or good policy or not good policy, or the voters or not the voters, this body lacks jurisdiction to entertain the question altogether. How do we know this? We know this.
Madam Chairwoman, are we starting over with the presentations, or are we just...
I really don't want to. You spoke this morning at public comment. I understood, but if my colleagues need to hear what you have to say again, I am not going to stop you because you are here for the PZ item, and interested parties are allowed to speak during our PZ items. It's separate from public comment, but I get it. And just for the record as well, I agree with Commissioner Gabella. This should be put to rest. The voters voted. We should reconsider it. And in your statement, you said we don't have the authority, but you forgot to say in your opinion, because a court would have to decide if we don't have jurisdiction to reconsider this. But from what I've been told by our city attorney, by our city clerk, this is well within our jurisdiction. And again, 80% of our electorate, even in District 2, there was not one precinct that did not vote in favor of the gym equipment. So on this issue, I think it's a foregone conclusion. And if my colleagues want to hear your presentation again, or Ms. Quirk's presentation again, I want to allow you to do so, because I don't want to have any problems later that I didn't let anybody speak, et cetera, et cetera. But that's where I am on this.
Understood.
Madam Chair, one clarification I'd like to make. Obviously, the residents don't agree with that. They think that question was misleading, and that's currently in a court of law being contested. I do want to hear, what is the case law that makes you say that we do not have jurisdiction? And then if that is the case, are we opening ourselves up to yet another lawsuit based on what we decide to?
You know, either way it goes, we're opening ourselves up to a lawsuit, because if we disenfranchise 80% of our electorate, we open ourselves up to a lawsuit. If we, either way, because we live in a litigious society, and just because someone brings a lawsuit, and you can find case law to support any side that you're on, and every attorney knows that. There are pros and cons. There's case law for this. There's case law for that. So that doesn't move me. If he has case law, it doesn't move me if she has case law. Ultimately, a judge will decide, having all the facts. But we as a commission, we need to put this issue to rest. And just like I just said, you have residents that are saying the referendum language was misleading. Okay, a judge will decide that. I don't think it was misleading, but that's just my opinion. And again, my argument in favor of it not being misleading is that at least the voters in District 2 would have voted against it, because there was such a big campaign against the gym equipment, but it passed 80%. I don't know how we disenfranchise 80% of voters in the city of Miami. So I would like to put this to rest. Commissioner Pardo.
The campaign was only done 2 weeks leading up to it, because it wasn't understood that it was a binding referendum. Most people thought it was a simple straw poll. That aside, though, I know the plaintiff wasn't able to make it. And I know you had asked in public comment for this to be deferred until the plaintiff could be here to represent the residents. I don't know if that is something that we would...
Typically, if you're represented by counsel, it doesn't matter if the person is here specifically, because this person represents I mean, he's going to say the same thing that his attorney says. So I don't think we're disenfranchising the plaintiff by listening to his counsel. But again, it's the will of my commissioners. I'm ready to move this forward. I'm ready to vote for reconsideration. Will of my commissioners, do I have a motion?
There's a motion.
I have a second?
May I
Ma-
respond?
Wait, hold on a second.
Ma'am, I had the.
When I get the motion in a second, then I'll have more discussion. I'm not going to forget about you.
Ma'am, the only thing that I'm saying, and I've repeated it, and I don't know why, sometimes the law department, when I try to, it muddy the water in a way that it makes it more difficult. Not really, really. The people spoke. People spoke 80%, 87%. It's just like the inspector general. 80-something% say yes. Now, people speak. That is the democratic way. If it was not a campaign against it, it is not the people's fault. You see, it is not our fault. That I am in favor or against is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And now, my only concern about the PC1, it is if we reconsider and then we vote against it, we're opening up a Pandora's box that any time that something happens, well, I would like to reconsider now if I have to vote the deal with Mel Reese. See? And that is what the only reason that I will vote against it. But I will vote that to do what the people what people voted for, and let's place this to rest. That's what the only reason that I will not vote for PC1. But let's put this to rest. If there is now there is if there is now we have a lawsuit against the referendum, let the judge decide. And if the judge decides that it is not valid, well, then you take the I would say infamous, because they are not even famous. Have created so much problem. You take the infamous exercise equipment out of it because the judge will say so, and that's it. I don't know why you guys why you guys try to make it so difficult. You see, it is very simple. People speak. You see? Okay, now leave it like the way it is. Okay? There is no need for the reconsideration. That's what it is. And if we vote for reconsideration, regardless if I like it or not, if I want them there or not, you know that I voted against it. What we are doing is we're opening a Pandora's box. Now, a year from now, or at any time, any one of us will say, well, I want to reconsider the vote that we had. And if you have the 3 votes, then you reconsider. You understand where I'm going?
Yes, but that's exactly what we did with the billboards. We didn't like it, and it was reconsidered. So that's
right, but
those are actions that
I didn't like that route either.
But it was done within 30 days.
Within 30 days, you see.
That's the rule.
But this is a long time.
So again, here we are. We have PC.
We just take a simple vote to leave it there until the judge decides?
No. Because then you're doing exactly what you said you didn't want to do, disenfranchise 80% of the electorate.
The voters, it should stay. They should stay there. Okay, we leave it there. Well, open it up, leave it there, and if there's a lawsuit.
Well, that's what PZ1 begins to do. I think Commissioner Carroyo wants to say something, and Commissioner Pardo would like to speak again, and Commissioner Gabelli, you're okay?
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm keeping my thoughts to the end.
Okay.
That is no problem. The problem is, you see, not set its precedence later on.
Chairwoman, first of all, let me say this for the record, that council for the plaintiffs spoke all he wanted to when this came up the last time before this body. The plaintiff himself spoke, and it's on the record, the main plaintiff, and several of the others. Now, maybe the world is turned upside down. I don't know. But when I'm being told that the residents are not getting the rights, you're talking about 6 people that were recruited by Mr. Pardo to file the lawsuit. And when they asked the question, where was the money going to come to pay for the lawsuit, he told them where it was going to come from. He was putting a PAC was going to pay for. And where did the money from the PAC come from? From individuals that want the Omni CRA to be passed because they're going to cash in on all that money, from the wife of one of the people in the billboard companies that's in our parks, from bar owners on 8th Street that are suing the city and their corporations, and others. So for this game, this charade to be played, it's outrageous. When you have one person responsible for all this here, the champ. 80% of the residents of Miami voted for the exercise park equipment. 2 weeks? They had weeks that they were campaigning. They had the local tabloid that came out with editorials. They spent tens of thousands of dollars in an election campaign. So anything else that they want to tell you, it's just fake news, totally, on this. Having said that, what they'd like to do is to keep this in limbo, that the vast majority of residents of Miami that voted for this and others can use outdoor gym equipment that has been installed and paid for. That's not right. There's no city in the free world that would do something like this. The PC1 and PC2, that's the way to move forward. And anybody that wants to bring something else up in the future, you can make quite a difference between this that was approved by a referendum and anything else. I don't think we're going to get anything before this commission that had been approved by a referendum. So that's the big difference here. PC3 will also handle this, and that's on first reading. So we could go through PC3 also on first reading and bring it back. But we should move forward in PC1. That passes, then go with PC2, because if we're going to be saying that we're going to listen to the people, and 80% voted, and we're going to listen to the 80%, then we're going to be making a mockery of those statements if we don't act upon it already.
Ms. Quirk.
I think that your point has been well taken, which is this appeal process has been going on for a year while the equipment has had a rope around it. And at some point it has to end. So the appeal process needs to end. The administration has heard the voters, has heard the commission, and they have provided 2 avenues for you to address this issue. You can either address it through PZ1 and PZ2 for just this specific issue, or you can address it through PZ3 because it is your professional planning department's opinion that the city of Miami should not be spending resources to apply for warrants for exercise equipment in public parks. So there's two avenues. They're both before you, and they are recommended by your professional planning staff. So I would encourage you to conclude the issue so that we can move forward.
Sir?
Thank you. As I was stating, this body does not have jurisdiction, so whether it is a good idea, a bad idea, or otherwise, PZ1 is the question of should we reconsider the question, and PZ2 is the actual reconsideration of it. So to Commissioner Pardo's question, if this proceeds to PZ2, we would request a deferral because Mr. Smith and Mr. Kern are not here and they were going to make the presentation. They're both on work trips that were scheduled in advance of the special meeting. But I can talk about PZ1 right now. PZ1, this body lost jurisdiction when the time to appeal expired. I understand at the previous meeting, Ms. Quirk explained correctly that the city of Miami cannot appeal certain decisions of the commission because it's the city appealing itself. That may in fact be true, but it's irrelevant to the legal analysis. And to say that the city holds jurisdiction of a quasi-judicial proceeding forever because it cannot appeal affords the city a greater right than anyone else in the city would have. So the case law, to the question that was asked, the seminal case is Mills against Laris Paint and Company, 125 Southern 2nd, 745, Florida Supreme Court from 1960. And what that court said was it has frequently been held that administrative agencies have inherent or implied power comparable to that possessed by courts to rehear or reopen a cause and reconsider its action or determination therein, where the proceeding is in essence a judicial one. It's also generally recognized that the power to rehear or reconsider must be exercised before an appeal from the original order of the administrative body has been lodged or before such order has become final by lapse of time without a timely appeal. In the case of Small, S-M-U-L-L, against the town of Jupiter, the 4th District Court of Appeal in 2003 applied this exact situation from Mills against Laris, holding that quasi-judicial determinations made by local governing bodies are subject to those rules. We also cite Reich against the Department of Health, a 1st District case from 2004, holding that a request to vacate a quasi-judicial determination is untimely if it is filed after the time for a timely notice of appeal has expired. So, the explanation that has been given by the city attorney is that Mason's legislative manual would permit reconsideration. It's not true because that applies to legislative enactment and not quasi-judicial determinations where this body is acting as a court subject to possible appeal to the circuit court. And in fact, even if we were applying Mason's, which we are not, Mason's manual states at section 461, subsection 5, when an appeal has been decided and the subject matter of the appeal disposed of, it's too late to move to reconsider the vote on the appeal. When there is no appeal taken, this clearly applies. So to Commissioner Reyes' point, whatever this body, whatever the city may end up doing with the gym equipment by virtue of other mechanism of law or not, one thing that it cannot do, because it would set a very dangerous precedent, would be to go back and reopen something that is judicially closed, because there's no principled reason why any other quasi-judicial decision could not similarly be reopened months later or years later. And that would be a very damaging thing for this city to do and would also undermine public faith in governance. So whatever the city thinks is appropriate, it cannot reopen. Last point, if it were to reopen, if it were to assume jurisdiction that this body does not have, or alternatively, were this timely, which it is not, the Miami 21 Code, the rules of evidence that are set forth in this city's code are expressly clear that new evidence may not be considered. What can be considered? A de novo review of what was considered by the PZAB. And to the extent that this body already held a quasi-judicial hearing back in January, which was eventually deferred several times and decided in May, this body may not consider new evidence that was not considered by the time the matter became final, which it is. So the election, which was subsequent, is necessarily excluded. Now, there are reasons, if we go into PZ2, why the PZAB ruling should be reaffirmed if this body were to assume jurisdiction, we think illegally. But I'm trying to separate PZ1 and PZ2 because they are discrete legal issues. And if this proceeds in PZ2, we can have that discussion. But for PZ1, we would request that reconsideration be denied And if it proceeds to PZ2, we would request a deferral so that the appellees could be present.
I'm going to allow Ms. Quirk to speak now.
A couple of things to correct for the record quickly. One is an allegation that Mr. Smith did not receive notice. That notice is provided in the backup to that is in the online package, and it shows that he did receive notice by certified mail. That's one thing. So the fact that he's not here, he is represented by counsel, and therefore the notice issue is ineffective. The second thing is, as you said, you can always find case law. Every lawyer can find good case law. We would not suggest, the city would never suggest that you should have a blanket policy of reconsidering quasi-judicial items. However, in exceptionally limited circumstances, the reconsideration may be appropriate if this commission deems so. And in this case, and I think it was noted by Commissioner Carollo, I don't know of any other circumstance where an item has been approved by 80% referendum after the quasi-judicial item. So the quasi-judicial item was considered at a time when this commission was informed that maybe there was a concern by the residents. That turned out to not be the case. In fact, 80% of the residents were in favor of the gym equipment and getting the gym equipment open. So in these exceptionally limited circumstances, Mann versus Department of Professional Regulation, 585 Southern 2nd, 1059, Johnson versus Terry Hunt Construction Company. There are many cases that support the proposition that in exceptionally limited circumstances, this board may reconsider the item. So I would encourage you to avail yourself of one of the avenues to move forward with the exercise equipment that has been roped off for an entire year.
I'd like to hear from our city attorney as well, because I believe in my briefing, this was our city attorney's path forward to put this item to rest, or not. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, and I think Ms. Hand gave a great presentation, which is you have two options, really. The Robert Frost poem, you walked upon two paths in the forest, and you could choose one path or the road less traveled. PZ 1 and 2 are reconsideration of the item, and as we've said, we believe it's within the jurisdiction and the authority under Masons and the rules of this procedure, or the rules of the City Commission, to move forward with that. However, if you don't want to create a precedent or you're concerned about going so far back with a reconsideration, PZ3 offers you the opportunity to eliminate the need for PZ 1 and 2, because if you adopt PZ3, thereby eliminating the requirement for a warrant, then you wouldn't need to reconsider the item. So that is another path, probably the easier path. And to explain why, and I know Commissioner Reyes, lawyers ruin everything, right? Why are we complicating this issue? We are complicating this issue because the Appellee's Counsel has pled in court in the action that is currently pending that the city cannot grant a warrant via the results of the referendum. He has argued to the court that that would be in violation of the Florida statutes, which says an initiative or referendum process in regard to any development order is prohibited. So while the question was very clear as far as shall the gym equipment remain in the park, there remains a question of this city commission denied the request for a warrant. So we have that pending issue there. We've got the gym equipment in the park. It can't be removed per 80% of the people of Miami's decision. But how do we open it? How do we let people utilize this equipment? How do we remove the fence and let people use it, right? So those are the two options that we presented. You could either reconsider the item. You don't really need a record because it's just basically, if you reconsider the item, the record travels with this case. You had like 3 hearings on this, I believe, before you ultimately decided the question on the appeal. So there's no need for a new hearing. It's not a de novo hearing. It's just basically the city commission reconsidering, not rehearing, or it's not a new appeal, it's a reconsideration of the existing appeal with the record that traveled with it from day one. So, so your options 1 and 2 are to reconsider. Option 3 is to change the code to no longer require a warrant for gym equipment in a park, and that would obviate the need for 1 and 2, arguably. So those are your choices.
Commissioner Gabella?
Okay, so the way I see this is, look, 1 and 2 gets you there, PZ3 gets you there also.
Right.
1 and 2, you're going through the warrant system. 3, we eliminated. I think we should do PZ3 if we're going to do it. That eliminates all the lawsuits,
Right.
you know, and do it that way. If we're
Right.
going to do it, my humble opinion, you know, Commissioner Pardo, you put on a brave fight, you know, but at some point, I agree with the chairwoman that we got to put this to rest. That's all I'm saying. And I voted for you the first time, by the way. You know, I heard what you had to say, but you know, Caro, you might have outwitted you people, you know, but that's a fact of life, and that's what happened. You know, and the people spoke, so, you know, and you know, I agree, we can't go, so to be honest, I'm ready to vote on PZ3.
May I?
Commissioner Pardo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am in a very unique and difficult position. I am really, really not a pig-headed person, but my office is dealing with these issues constantly. At forums, emails, people come and visit and they bring stuff like this petition with 764 people after we took out anybody that didn't live in Miami, of people who do not agree with what's happening at that park. The question that went on the ballot did not include the residents' perspective. So the residents sued. That lawsuit is still working its way through the court. The most logical thing to do in respecting the residents in the process is to defer these until that settles. I'm the first to say, whatever the court rules, I'm with it. I'm done. I agree. We did what we could. But I think it's fair to have a judge review a question that never even talked about the residents, never even considered the struggle. Because remember, the residents have been doing this for a year and a half. I forget how many people showed up to PZAB. It was tens of people that showed up to PZAB. We've had chambers at times filled with this issue. And it's all because all of this is happening in District 2, but I can't do anything for them other than argue here, you know, make their case. That's the only reason I'm going through all this.
I hear you, and I agree with Commissioner Gabella that we probably should go with PZ3. Just hold on a second, sir. We should go with PZ3 because, again, and my position has always been, it's not been a secret, I do not consider this park a district park. I consider it a regional park. I consider it a park for the entirety of the city of Miami, as has prior, my colleagues before me. They've all considered this park a regional park. So I'm ready to move forward. I've heard enough. I'm going to take my advice from the city attorney. Do I need to have any more comments from the attorneys?
May I respond?
Hold on a second.
He's had an opportunity. I'm always nervous about foreclosing someone the opportunity
Right,
to
that's
speak
why
in a
I'm
forum
asking
like
for
this.
your-
Give him a 2-minute summary,
Okay,
and then
2-minute
we'll be
summary,
set.
sir.
Okay. Officially, we're talking about PZ1, but there's been discussion about PZ3. I'll admit I'm learning about PZ3 as I'm standing here, but if I'm correct in my understanding from listening that PZ3 would eliminate altogether the requirement for a warrant for a recreational facility in a civic space, that is incredibly short-sighted and bad policy, and it would violate the 2008 master plan, the 2023 parks plan, it would violate the comprehensive plan, it would violate all of those things. And one thing that I would like to say, the 2023 plan, which does not specifically address Maurice Ferre Park, it addresses most parks but not Maurice Ferre Park, because Maurice Ferre Park is a special use park under the 2023 plan. But there's other designations of parks in the 2023 plan, including a mini park, a neighborhood park, a community park, a linear park, and a school park, which all contemplate exercise equipment. There's additional types of parks, special use I mentioned, which are dependent on what the reasons are why they are special. There's also undeveloped parks and green spots, which do not contemplate exercise equipment. If the commission passes PZ3 as an end around to PZ1 and PZ2, it will open a worse Pandora's box than even the reconsideration, because now there's no reason why any green space can't have a basketball court or can't have any recreational facility that you can think of. So I would strongly discourage.
Ms. Quirk, and I'd like to hear from the Parks Director, because I did ask that question, and I was told, and I'd like to have it for the record, that gym equipment is part of the Parks Master Plan. But let's hear it from the Parks Director. Ms. Quirk, you can rebut what he just said.
I think that the position is the same, and I defer to your professional planning staff on what is appropriate in parks. You have a parks director, you have professional planning staff who have made a professional recommendation that it is appropriate to have exercise equipment and recreational facilities in public parks.
Director?
Hello, good afternoon. Chris Evans, Parks and Recreation Director. Yes, and the master plan is contemplated to have exercise equipment as part of features to Parks and Recreation to enhance outdoor recreation as well. We have 4 fitness centers throughout the city, indoor, but it does recommend having outdoor facilities as well.
Which is what I received. So outdoor equipment in parks does not run afoul of our Parks Master Plan.
Respectfully.
But I heard what you said. I don't want to keep going back and forth. I'm going to allow my colleagues one more flush, and if I can have a motion for PZ3.
Before you get the motion, I have to withdraw the motion that I made that wasn't second. So let me withdraw that motion, and now I'll make a new motion for PZ3.
Do I have a second?
Let's put an end to this, people. Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's
No.
4-1.
With Commissioner Pardo voting no.
And then may I,
This is first reading.
first reading,
As
yes.
is.
As is.
Oh, you know what? I'll change my vote on that. I'll support it because it gives me time before second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's unanimous.
Unanimous. 5-0 as is.
5-0 as is.
And then I recommend a deferral of PZ1 and 2 to October 24th.
Motion to defer.
The motion
So I
for
got a
deferral.
motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone lives to fight another day.
Mr. City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
who has been representing us in the lawsuit that's been filed?
By the opponents of the gym equipment in the park?
Yes.
The Amanda has been, Ms. Hand has been representing the city's issues in that litigation. Well, that's partially true. Ms. Hand is special counsel for the appeal of the gym equipment. In our office, we have internally been handling the litigation, and Eric Eves, I believe,
My
is
direct
on.
question is, she's an outside counsel, correct?
She is outside counsel for the gym equipment only.
Right, but,
Only as to the public matter.
right,
This, yeah.
but to the lawsuit part,
That's being handled by my office and my attorneys.
then you are going to have to reconsider if this lawsuit, they want to go forward more with the money from the PAC. And by the way, Mr. Manager, put a little discussion item so that I could enlighten people to show how the money runs and who does what and how things have been done for those that claim that they came here to fight corruption and have full transparency. But we have a little problem. Maybe you all didn't hear me loud enough, so let me speak a little louder so I could be heard. Mr. Pardo was the one that pushed the idea of the lawsuit. Mr. Pardo was the one that stated that he would have a PAC and raise the money. Mr. Pardo was the one that raised the money for the PAC. Therefore, Mr. Pardo needs to be deposed along with some of his other proxies. And the city will have a conflict of interest if you're going to depose Mr. Pardo. So if this is going to go forward anymore, you need to come to this commission so we could have a discussion. And I want to show what we have, to show the games that are being played. And my God, even till today, he's still saying, the residents, the residents. You have one resident that showed up today. In the other meetings, you had 5, maybe 6. The 80% that voted for this, they don't count. They're nobodies. They're not residents. This is so outrageous. But having said that, if the city manager could put a discussion item for me next week on the agenda, if it's not too late. If not, I will have to put it on the one following that. And if the city attorney's office could keep this commission appraised on what Mr. Pardo's the resident's attorney is going to do next, because Mr. Pardo needs to be deposed, and that smirk in his face, he ain't going to be there when he's deposed, and the truth has to come out.
The next item I'm going to bring to the attention is future legislation, FL2, Chapter 2, Administration and Departments.
Oh, Chair, that's just there for
I know,
notification.
but I just wanted to say it out loud. It's there for notification, but I wanted to say it out loud. Then
That's the last one?
No, then we have now discussion, Bayfront Park Management Trust.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the FL2.
Yeah, that was just a notice, announcement.
Okay, right.
Excuse me? What?
The future legislation too. It's just an announcement that may be coming in the future.
I don't understand.
No, it doesn't. I just announced it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. We don't have to vote for it.
No. It doesn't require a vote. It's just notice to the public that this may come at some point in the future.
Thanks.
The next item we have on our agenda is, and I'm going backwards, so I'm going to get all the way to the front. Discussion item on Bayfront Park Management Trust. Whose item is this?
That's my item.
Do you want to keep it or do you want to defer it?
I want to keep it. If
Come
you
on.
want to do it later.
No.
Okay.
Let's go.
We got to get out of here for
No, I'm going to go backwards.
Okay, I think we
I'm
just
gonna-
have some quick slides to show.
Yes, but this is an item on, so this is the next thing, and then I'll just keep moving forward. There's a discussion for Bayfront Park Management Trust that Commissioner Pardo put on. Commissioner
Yeah,
Pardo?
I have just a handout on the information and some slides, which I think Chris is probably somewhere. He'll set up in a second. But anyway, I wanted to start out by saying Bayfront Park Management Trust is listed as a component unit of the City of Miami. And I would ask the city attorney if you could explain a component unit or how that's different from anything else,
Yeah, so
like the CRAs or the DDA or anything.
quite honestly, I guess this is, I don't know who prepared this document, but a component of the auditors did. A component unit of the City of Miami is not really terminology that we use. I will say that by its definition, Bayfront Park Trust is an agency of the city. However, it doesn't have, like typically when you look at our code, you'll see like the more powerful boards, using that term loosely, they're granted corporate power to sue and be sued in the courts of the state, and with the power to adopt and use a corporate seal that's out of the DDA legislation. Miami Parking Authority has the power to sue and be sued and enter into contracts and stuff like that. Bayfront Park authority is overseen by the city commission. So it doesn't use the term limited agency, but it's an agency. So I'm not exactly sure what component unit of the city of Miami is.
That's
but
fine,
it's not,
but
But wait,
my
let me clarify that.
Okay, please.
Having been a component unit of the city at one point in my professional life, it is an accounting reference.
Okay.
So when they reference it as a component unit, that's an accountant's reference to what it is.
But I think the main point that I was trying to say is how it's different than DDA and the CRAs,
Right.
in that the commission is responsible ultimately. Correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So in the last two audits for Bayfront Park Management Trust, there were significant deficiencies listed, which are important. And I want to say, where's the chief financial, where's Larry? Chief financial officer. Chief Financial Officer, when we've been discussing, there's an upcoming forensic audit on Bayfront Park Management Trust, correct?
Yes, at the direction of the
Okay,
commission.
so I just wanted to make sure that in that forensic audit, these are addressed, these kind of deficiency findings?
Yeah, we already provided the audit firm that is assigned to do that audit, the closeout audit, and we used the management letter comments as a starting point.
I saw the scope of work,
Yeah.
but it didn't mention procedures. So what I'm trying to list here are the considerations that have come through our office, the issues that have come to our office. The issue about journal entries, when you read the effect, it says, without proper review of journal transactions, the trust could be exposed to material misstatements due to the improper recording, in addition to possible fraud or misuse of funds. There haven't, according to this, been bank reconciliations. The effect says, without proper review of bank reconciliations, the trust would not know if the cash position at a point in time is accurate and whether or not there were errors, fraud, or misuse of funds. In addition, unreconciled transactions could cause accounts to be over or understated. If you go to the next slide, Chris. That's basically what I just read in those areas. And go to the next one. The next one. It'll be fast. I don't want to. You'll see these are the things that concern me, but also that I would want the auditors to kind of look at. We had more or less a cash balance of $9.5 million, but the interest earned was $7,228. It doesn't jive in my mind. So that, along with the deficiencies, is what I would like them, procedures written, to kind of address. If you go to the next slide, you'll see it's better, $286,000, but by then the balance was $14.5 million, right? If you go to the next one, you'll see that even in the forecast now, when we look to 2023-24, you see 792 added to the 264. Now we're at $1 million, but we were forecasting 0. So there's just stuff here between the budget and what's reported in the statements that I want the forensic auditors to look at. Okay. The pending projects, which now with the balance that Bayfront Park Management Trust has, basically all of it is getting used for the list of projects, if you go to the next slide, including the fountain reconstruction, the rock garden, the promenade, the flower clock, a new fountain for Maurice Ferre Park. And I want to know, because this is what the residents have been coming to our office about, how does this fit with procurement? Is it following procurement? Are there conflict of interests? Is this in line with the master plan? These are the issues that they keep coming to us with. The issue about the former interim executive director and transfers going from Bayfront Park Trust to District 3 or Bayfront Park Trust to Tower or District 3, those have all been mentioned to us as areas where we would like to see some kind of procedure that helps identify it. Permitting a procurement during that same time period, and then petty cash transfers for VIP parking and whatever happened with the MPA agreement. In addition to that, just the community support line item seems to be outside the mission of what Bayfront Park Management Trust was, the outside support to Little Haiti, all the other communities. What is that line item? Is there any procedure to make sure that the money, is being used, and should it be used, given that the mission of Bayfront Park Trust, Management Trust, is to manage the park, not community support in this way, which the city does. Those were all the concerns.
Okay, I will get a copy of this and share it with the lead from Markham. I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
The lead who?
The lead auditor from the audit firm that's assigned.
Okay.
The firm is Markham LLC.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
Yes. I really don't know what the heck Champ here is bringing out, but we certainly have the financial people from the trust that can go over this, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Interesting, he met with them after he had asked for the financials to be given to him. From what I was told, he really had no problems. He never came back to ask any questions of the financial people that went to see him or from the executive director. Unlike from 8-9 days ago, when right at this podium, I asked the executive director from his Omni CRA to provide me line item expenditures and salaries for employees. To this day, I have not gotten it, and they cannot tell me when I will receive them. For the record, I'm making to you, Mr. Pardo, and to the executive director, public records requests by Florida law, which verbal is as good as in writing, for all the information that I asked in the last meeting that we had with the Omni CRA. It's obvious, a big balloon that he's trying to come up with on trying to see if he could create the doubt that something is wrong. There's problems with monies in Bayfront Park. He's complaining about procurement. But as I pointed out today and in numerous other commission meetings, he constantly votes up here for items that are 4/5, no procurement. I guess the only place he's got a problem if we do a 4/5 vote without procurement is in Bayfront Park Trust. That he would have the audacity to complain that the trust gave $50,000 to a Liberty City arts group for young kids in Liberty City to be taught art by native artists from Liberty City. It's outrageous that he will complain that we gave $50,000 to a little Haiti group so that young Haitian girls that are here, basically they were abandoned, could be taken care of and have a place to live and food to eat. It's outrageous. You could audit that all you want and send all the people that you want. And yes, we are going to have a new fountain, hopefully, before December 31st. Actually, is a refurbishing of the original Negushi fountain at Bayfront Park. And yes, the board approved in a public meeting to put in front of the Jorge Perez Museum, in the circle that's there, a new type of modern fountain. And that process is in the way in doing it. But, of course, we can't do anything here unless Mr. Pardo's proxies, those 5 or 6 people, decide what needs to be approved in Ferret Park, and now I'm seeing Bayfront Park also. Listen, the executive director of Bayfront Park is here. I asked him to be here, Mr. Suarez. please look at this piece of garbage, and I want it answered. Get whoever you have in your office, whoever else you need to, so it could be answered. This is just a smokescreen by this guy because he's afraid. He's having a meltdown, and I'm not going to allow him to tarnish the image of a good board of directors that we have in that park, to tarnish the image of what has been accomplished there in the last 7 years. When I went there as chairman for the first year, we had under $3 million of revenue. Now we're up to around $13 million in revenue. This guy's going to complain. And of course, there's never a thank you for all the work that we do there, all that we've accomplished there. It's only complain, defame, attack, nonstop. So, Mr. Pardo, you can do with this whatever you like. I'm not an accountant, so I don't do the numbers. We have people that could do that. They could explain that, and they will explain it. But there's nothing here that I see that's got any validity to it, or they cannot be explained. And you know well that if you wanted these answers, all you had to do was ask Mr. Suarez. You could have had the trust, and like the way you treat even a vice chairman of the Omni CRA, that I can't get any information. I didn't stop the executive director and our staff from giving you anything you wanted, including when in violation of our charter, you wanted to speak to the individual that had put up the outdoor gym equipment because you wanted him to take it down right away. And you were intimidating the man. And you were allowed, we didn't even stop you in that, to go ahead and speak to him on your own. All the information was given to you. Well, listen, champ, do better than that. You know, you're in the major leagues now, and you're a minor league player.
Commissioner Pardo?
I don't view myself as a very intimidating figure, but that said, I'll first address the Omni piece of information that's been said a couple of times. That request was made a few days ago.
No,
and
made at a meeting here
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. Not this Monday, the Monday before that.
I'm
Vice
speaking.
Chair.
Not a few days ago.
I'm
He
speaking.
didn't interrupt you. Let him speak.
It was made a few days ago. I don't know the exact number, 6, 5, 7, something like that. In between hurricane, the request was for 24 years of financial information and perspective. They also had a mediation the very next day that took the entire day. We don't need a request, or of course we are going to satisfy the request. We will give you all that information. That's been our intention from day one. So I just wanted to make that very clear. As far as the Bayfront staff goes, the Bayfront Park staff, they've been great. I've had a great working relationship with Jose. I did meet with them, and I did bring up the interest income issue, but I had not seen the 2 sets of financials at the time. So I'm going to wait for the forensic audit and for the explanations. I'm not making any accusations. I'm simply saying these are areas that as commissioners, we should get answers to. And procurement. I am in favor of following procurement and getting bids unless there's a good reason. Like, for example, it's 2 companies that do horse rides, or, so as long as it's explained, I'm good with it. Otherwise, though, let's try to follow our procurement procedure. And of course, I support donations going to Liberty City or any other place that needs money and has community outreach programs. It's just that line item, community support, was never foreseen as part of that mission and might be better off in the city, not at Bayfront Park Trust. That's it.
Any others want to? Okay, so we've addressed discussion item on Bayfront Park. Next item up is SR4. May I have a motion?
What are we doing now?
SR4.
SR4.
It's the next thing on our agenda.
SR4. Okay. SR4, that is the Elected Officers Retirement Trust. Discussion.
Can I have a motion and a
Move.
second for discussion?
It's a motion.
Second for discussion?
Discussion.
Who's the seconder? My apologies, Chair.
Commissioner Gabella,
Commissioner Gabella, you're the seconder.
for discussion.
Understood.
Discussion.
Commissioner Gabella?
No, I'll let the Vice Chair go first.
Look, this is very simple. We have gone through this numerous times already. This is bringing back a benefit that was taken out, and it was taken out by people that took it out for future elected officials, but kept it for themselves, ironically. I'm the only one here that is vested in that old pension. Nobody here is. That can't be taken away from me. So it would be hypocritical of me to say no to this. Now, I will say this for colleagues. Majority work hard. This is not a 40-hour-a-week job. In fact, majority work even harder than anyone in the administration or in the city. Commissioners are on call just like a doctor is. You get calls at all days and hours from people in need. Every time there's a problem somewhere in your district, you're expected to be there. And most of us are. At the same time, with the amount the commissioners make in salary and benefits, and their job responsibility and the hours that they put in, you compare it to what assistant managers and others make, it's lopsided. And that side, they're making 2-3 times more. So, for commissioners to have a pension once they leave here, it's not bad policy. On the contrary, it's probably good policy because you give individuals an additional incentive to work harder, and frankly, an additional incentive to do what's right for the city. I think that the time has come that you either vote it up or down. It's not going to affect me as far as a pension or not, because I've been vested already, as I stated. So I make the motion. It's been seconded. We all know what it is. We don't need to waste a lot of time with this one.
Commissioner Gabella?
Yeah, I got a lot to say on this. Basically, I'm for this, and let me explain why. Number one, as Commissioner Carollo correctly pointed out, the pension system was installed for commissioners a long time back, and I understand in 2010, 2011, or 2009, it was repealed by some commissioners, but they didn't do it to themselves. They did it to everybody that came after. So that, to me, is morally incorrect. Number two, in my case, I'm 60 years old, okay? I'm serving my first term. Let's pretend that I make it to my second term, okay? If I made it to my second term, I'd be 68 years old, should I choose to participate in the pension. If I did choose to participate in the pension, I got elected for a second time, okay, and lived that long, I'm going to draw, I understand, $4,400 and something, okay? That's what it is, in my case, If let's pretend I last till I'm 80 years old, if I'm lucky, okay? I don't know what that number is, you know? So we're worried about that, okay? But by the same token, there's other waste here now, okay, with certain people having double dipped, and I'm not going to say numbers, okay, but we're not worried about that. I got to get to a second election. I got to get to 68 years old. I got to live at least 5 years or 6 years to get even with if I left here at 68 and I received a lump sum. Because when I mentioned that we leave here with a lump sum, nobody wanted to talk about that, okay? Nobody said a peep about that. And I bet you today nobody will say a peep about that again, okay? But the fact of the matter is, let's pretend I lived 5 years and I equal the lump sum. I still got to last. So I get, in my case, I got to get to 80 till I get more than what I would have with the lump sum. That's number one. But we're worried about $4,400 a month that I might get or I might not get. If I don't get elected a second term, I won't get it. And if I don't live that long, I'm not going to get it. Okay? Then you have the other problem. Okay? You have the other problem where the reason I want to do it is so those that come after us. So I have a little bit of real estate, my wife and I do, and I have a business. So the salary that the taxpayer pay me, okay, that's not I don't depend on that. That's not now I'm lucky in that sense. But what happens if after Carollo's gone, or Chairwoman, or Reyes, or you, Commissioner Pardo, or myself, when we're gone, what happens if a guy, this is the only job he's going to have? This is the only job he's going to have. So you expect that guy to give him power, and you expect him to pay him very little, and you don't want to give him a retirement. And you think that guy is not going to do anything else, okay? Well, all that power if you don't compensate him, okay? So then what you're saving on the one hand by not giving him the retirement, we might have to spend on an actual lawsuit because you might get himself in trouble, and then Wysong and Company will have to be defending him, okay? And then we'll spend money that way, okay? That's another one, okay? I'm concerned about what I want is all people of walks of life, different walks of life, can be a commissioner if they have the right attitude and the right, that they want to do good for the community. Regardless if you're a business owner like myself or you're wealthy, because let's face it, right now, I believe this is a 24/7 job. It really is if you're going to do a job, and all of us know it up here, I think. Okay? Now, if you ask me to do a full-time job, okay, and I didn't have anything else, I have to be compensated, ladies and gentlemen. This myth that people are going to do this for free and we're not going to pay them anything, this is a fallacy. This is something that, and there's plenty radio stations out there that have criticized me for even mentioning this. But I have to mention this because this should have been fixed a long time ago, because this was repealed. We're not changing anything here. The only thing is that we're repealing what they repealed about 10 or 11, 12 years back. And then let's also be clear. I'm afraid that some in the middle will get left out. There are 3 or 4 commissioners in the middle of us that are going to get left out. I don't feel good about that, let me tell you, because I think they should also be entitled to the same thing that we are. So for me, I want more participation when I'm gone, that this is going to be their job, okay? This is going to be their job. They're not going to be like me, that I'm a business owner and that I live off my real estate holdings, my wife and I do. Okay, I want that, somebody simple that has, that's elected, that can be a person that can run, okay, but doesn't have to be a business owner. He just has he feels for Alapata, Flayama, and Grapen, in my case, my District 1, and he can run, and this is the only salary that he's going to get. And then for those guys, you got to offer them a package, so they're going to do the right thing up here. That's what I'm saying. I know I'm going to be criticized for this. I know I'm going to be criticized for this for doing this. But I think this is in the right. The only thing we're doing here, we are not the ones, let me be clear, We are not the ones installing the pension system. Other commissioners, a long time ago, 30 years ago, installed the pension system. Like Carollo, for example, he's already vested. He doesn't really care if this happens or not because he gets his pension. So he's going to get his pension once he's out of office, okay? Now, so I want to reiterate this. All we are doing is that we're making it right, in my opinion, that we are repealing what those commissioners did in 2009, 2010, okay, that they took off the pension, but they didn't do it for themselves. That's very important for you guys to know. They did not do that to themselves. Those commissioners that repealed and said no more pension for anybody after us, they didn't do themselves. To this day, they are still collecting money, you know. And then furthermore, every employee in the city of Miami, fire, rescue, the general employees, trash, everybody gets a pension. The only difference is that you can argue is, well, we might get it in 8 years, and they might have to put it in 20. That's a legitimate reason. I feel for them. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Sometimes out there, we're taking what I call reputational hazard, okay? One way or the other. Sometimes we get credit, and other times we don't get credit. Sometimes we deserve the credit. Sometimes we deserve the criticism. You know, we're the United States of America, and that's what it should be about. And I'm okay with that. I've been in here for 10 months, and I've taken some criticism. I've taken some credits. I think we all have. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, because I know tomorrow everybody's going to be talking, look what they did over there in the city of Miami. And by the way, the reason this has been deferred, okay, because I never wanted to do this at 12 o'clock at night when nobody's looking, not having a full discussion. We wanted to do this. I wanted to do this out in the open. You know, so everybody knows exactly what is going on. So for me, it's also a matter of legacy that whoever comes after me, after you, Commissioner Pardo, doesn't have to be wealthy, doesn't have to be a business owner like myself or have real estate assets, but it could be a guy that this is the only thing he's going to do, okay, and he is going to get paid for it just like any other job. That's what it should be about. When you're up here and you have 20 employees in my office like we do, we have 17 right now, you're basically the executive leading that office. That's what you're doing, and you're leading the district. That's a job. It's a 24-hour job. That's the truth of the matter. You know, people don't know this. They look at the perks that we get, but they don't look at the time that's put in. I work on the weekends, by the way. I work on the weekends, you know, and I should, because I signed up for this. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, you got to be commissioner, Gabriela. No. I knew what I was getting into. You know, when I got here, a little bit different, but I knew what I was getting into. So I have to, you know, admit responsibility. You know, so mainly I want to be on the record as voting for this reason. And you know, some people will say up here, oh, you know, I came to serve, you know, and I came to serve too, but I want to do it for the guys that come behind me, you know, and also without again mentioning names because I'm not into that. I try to do things up here. If I don't have to get into a squabble, I won't. Early on I did with you, Carollo. You know, I mean, I think we're in pretty good terms now. You know, we're not going to be friends, but we're in pretty good terms, okay?
It is comedy.
Okay, but we respect each other. We respect each other.
Let me interrupt you for a minute.
Go ahead, you always do.
We're not going to be kissing cousins.
No, we're not.
Okay.
And it's been said that you and I have an alliance, that Pardo and I have an alliance, and this is look, I'm here for the people, and I'm sure you are, and Commissioner Pardo and everybody is at the end of the day that we're going to vote on the projects, on the independent projects as they come, and the merit on the project, and not basically that I'm going to vote against it because you're voting for it or you're voting for it. But bottom line. But what I don't want to hear tonight is people tell me, oh, Gabela, because, you know, you're getting a pension. Yeah, I'm getting $4,400. I'll make it that far. I got to serve 2 terms. I got to get elected 1 more term. I got to do my job right because people are not going to elect me. Then I got to live that long, and I got to live at least 5 years after that to equal the equal sum that I'm going to take out of here as it is right now. So when people say to me, pension, this and that, I say, well, wait a minute. There's some people here that have had a double job, okay, and yearly they've been collecting close to $100,000 besides the regular job, you know. How much is that in 8 years? How much, you know, there's a lot of waste, you know, in government, you know, but nobody talks about that. They'll talk about the pension and go against the pension because they know out there people will spin it to some of the voters, and some of the voters I imagine will believe it, and others will give you credit where it's at. Okay? But my point is, you know, when people tell me that, I'm saying to people, man, do you want people really? Do you want people that you're paying them, you got an executive job, and you don't want to pay them, and then you give them all this power, okay, and then, you know, you're putting that temptation in front of them because they need to earn a living, because they need to live just like everybody else. They need to eat, they need to pay rent, they need the money, okay? And so for me, I'm going to end it with that. It's been a very long speech for me. Mine's are usually five or
I
six
did not interrupt you.
or 7 minutes. And again, I say, I wish, by the way, the only thing I don't like about this is, okay, that we're leaving some people out, Commissioners. We are leaving some people out in between that 2010 and 2011 and now. And that's the only thing I don't like about it. Thank you.
I agree. Ooh. Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second.
Chair, the motion and the second was for discussion.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Reyes?
I stated it all along. My position was what I was accused during my campaign. I was coming here to get a pension, and I said no. I will never get a pension. I'm a man of my word. I respect every person's decision, but I want you to respect mine. Okay? I'm not here to criticize anybody. It's the way I feel. I promised it, and I'm going to keep it. Either you like it or not, that's the way I am. Okay? And I'm going to vote no. Right?
Madam Chair.
Great. Commissioner Pardo?
I just wanted to make it clear also, I understand the reasoning and all of it, and in fact, if it passes, I will take the pension. So I've never said that I would not take the pension. The biggest difference for me is I think this case should be made to the voters, and it should go to a vote. And that's, otherwise for me, I see it as self-dealing. That's what I've said from the beginning, and I'm just repeating it, reiterating it now. Like Commissioner Reyes, I respect every single thing everyone has said. That wouldn't change. But I wanted to make sure that was clear.
By the way, I wouldn't have a problem taking it I always said I never had a problem taking it as a referendum. I'm on the record saying that.
That's what I would prefer.
I'm not in favor of that. I'm definitely not in favor of that. And let me tell you why I'm not in favor of it. Because people are M&Ms. Mean and miserable. I received an email criticizing Mayor Daniela Levine Cava and Mayor Francis for declaring a state of emergency for Hurricane Milton. This constituent, and we all received that email. Did you see the email? Just unbelievable, because we were preparing for a storm. And, you know, the weather, we can't predict with any certainty, but thank God there were criticized giving out sandbags. We gave out thousands of sandbags in each of our districts. And then my point to M&M's, mean and miserable, that individual came back to have a second email to say what? Criticized the hat I was wearing. Criticized the hat I was wearing. I would not leave my livelihood up to voters like that. Thank you, Ms. Betancourt. Thank you, Ms. Betancourt. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Just less than 1 minute.
Really?
I dare say that there is no corporation that has $1.2 billion a year like the city of Miami, and if you include all our agencies, a heck of a lot more than $1.2 billion, that its board of directors will have as little as we will have in a pension. None. Go ahead.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
Motion carries 3-2.
Well,
Look at that. And that's how my constituency feels.
surprise, surprise. I'm glad that my colleague, Commissioner Pardo, was so transparent. You're truly a pillar of transparency, sir.
From day one.
That he votes against it, but he says, if it passes, I'm going to collect. Boy,
I work as hard as
that's
everybody
courage.
else.
That's courage.
I work as hard as everybody else, and I'm certainly not going
Yeah,
to accept
yeah.
less. So yeah, from day one, by the way.
I'll bring the mariachis
And
next
by the way,
meeting.
you get an increase in your pension.
Okay, so now we have the items.
Regardless, I
we-
would have.
We have the items that are addressing the Omni CRA. So RE 16 is to deny the extension of life of the Omni CRA. RE 15 is to direct the city manager to work with Omni CRA executive director to expand boundaries of Omni CRA to include Alapata. RE 12 is to approve Omni CRA's Second Amendment ILA. And RE 7 is to direct the city manager to hire consultants for FON Alapata CRA.
Can I just,
Commissioner Gabella?
okay, so this is what we're attempting to do. And I think it's going to be, I think everybody's going to agree. So what I'm asking you ladies and gentlemen to do is to do 7, and we're going to do a global deal as it was. And we're going to do approve 7, and this is to direct what it says to look at the possibility of doing an Alapata CRA, already identifying where the funds are going to come from.
I move that.
I'll second it.
One of the ones that are in play is the Midtown CRA, okay, and where we can draw that money and other monies. And then what we would do is defer the RE11, defer the
RE12.
RE12, yes, RE12, defer 15, and withdraw 16 till all this gets settled as one deal.
Yeah.
And then if when it comes back, everything's ready and we're all ready to vote, you get your extension, we get our Alapata CRA with the funding, where, what, why, and how, and all the terms, and
I'm all for that. I just want to put it on the table again, that there's only one pot of money, unless 3 things happen. 1, we find new monies to replace the money that we will put into a new CRA if we extend the life of the Omni CRA. 2, we make cuts. Or 3, manna from heaven falls.
Okay.
I stand, so when we revisit this in the future, you're not BS'd. You see the facts as they are. And what I have put on the table is no less than $332 million. That there's a small sliver of Overtown that was ignored for 24 years in the Omni CRA. That should go to the Southeast Overtown CRA. And we should give a little of that money towards that also in getting that accomplished. But we'll deal with that when we come back. Now we have plenty of time to try to do this right.
correct.
And
Please, could you please, somebody explain?
but the last thing I'll say is
That's not.
the city is 70% approximately, give or take, 68 Hispanic background. I don't think anybody can deny that some of the most depressed areas of the city of Miami, along with Overtown, Liberty City, parts of Little Haiti, are in Alapata, are in Little Havana. Those are facts. But it's also a fact that out of all the monies from CRAs or agencies or bids, not one penny has been created or given to Hispanic areas in the city of Miami. What's the problem? Hispanic commissioners have voted in the past, at least those that don't think that they are descendants of George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, I'm not, but Hispanics have voted from this dais time and time again to help other communities that were in need. It's about time that this commission sees the need in the Hispanic communities, and the one with the most need is Alapata. And I will tell you, Little Havana still has a lot of needs, but nowhere near like what Alapata has. And this is why I will push to bring in those dollars to Alapata to make an impact. And you're not going to make an impact with a few $1 million here or there. You need a big chunk of change to make a real impact. But we'll discuss this at a later time.
So, Commissioner Reyes had.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Reyes, your mic.
RE7
Yeah.
and deferred 12, 15, and 16.
And RE7 and defer, let me get my bearings here, 12, 15, and withdraw 16.
I move it.
You move?
Second.
So it's already been moved and seconded. RE7 has already been moved and seconded. We're focused on RE7 right now at this time.
I believe there needs to be some amendments stated for the record.
RE7.
Yes, Madam Chair, there was a distribution, and Section 5 of the resolution will be amended to say the city manager is directed to identify funding for the initial priority projects for the Alapata CRA upon its creation. Such funding shall be budgeted, appropriated, and approved by City Commission. Section 6 will be added to say the city manager is directed to seek reimbursement of all funds identified in this resolution upon approval of a community redevelopment plan and establishment of the Alapata CRA.
Commissioner Pardo, you have some.
No, I was just going to say 51% of Omni CRA is Hispanic. So a lot of times that goes unperceived, but it was just a little fact I wanted to throw in there. And I wanted to, the greater point is to thank Commissioner Gabella. I think this is a fantastic resolution. You can count on me to help you, Alapata, City of Miami, any which way. I'm there, and thank you for your leadership on this. I think it's outstanding.
I appreciate your support. Thank you. Commissioner Pardon.
Okay, so right now I have a motion and a second for RE7. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
As amended.
As amended. Now, may I have a motion
Motion.
to defer RE12 and RE15?
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in
To what date?
To what date?
How long is are we going to take approximately on this venture that we have embarked, Larry?
January.
Well, how about,
Okay, January sounds good to me.
how about we
January.
indefinitely defer it, and that way we can bring it back whenever we want
When
to
we
with
want.
the proper notice.
That's right, indefinitely.
Within
Okay with that?
Indefinitely.
Okay.
Totally fine with that.
Okay.
So we'll indefinitely defer RE12 and 15. All in favor?
Is there a
Aye.
motion? Sorry, I didn't catch the
There was a
motion.
motion and a second.
Yeah, there was.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And may I have a motion to withdraw RE16?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the City of Miami Commission for October 15th, 2024. Thank you again. Thank you for your advocacy.